different for your drive. And here we have to set the SATA mode as AHCI. This is the modern standard and it will work the best. Now Windows 7 I think does support IDE, but it will run slower and it will limit your hard drive or SSD to a certain access pattern. So if you don't want the technical details, just stick to AHCI if your motherboard can handle it. And after we've done that, we press escape and then we slide on to exit, or you can use the mouse if you have one. And we click save changes and reset. Now we're gonna get into the BIOS the second time, and now we're gonna choose to boot from the USB drive. So press delete again. It might be F2 or F12 for your motherboard or laptop. And now we go into the boot tab, and into the boot tab we go to the USB support and we click on full initialization. We need the USB to initialize in order to install Windows 7 from it. And then we go lower, where we have boot override. If you do not have boot override, make sure the boot option is first set for the USB that you have connected. So if you have this problem like I do, you have to go into hard drive BBS properties and make sure the USB is on the first option. Now that we've done that, we can either choose to boot override into the USB, or we can choose to just save and exit, and the first boot option will be the USB stick. So you use the Hello everyone, in this video I will show you how to install Windows 7. Now, this is a requested topic from ABXX in the comments of my most popular video. So how do we do this? How do we install Windows 7 in 2023? First up, we need Rufus, and you can also find a link to it in the description. Once you have Rufus downloaded, download your ISO image wherever you like on your computer. Done? Right. Open Rufus and click on the select button on the right hand side. Find the ISO image wherever you downloaded it and select it like you see here. Once that is done, there is a setting we need to adjust. Under the Partition Scheme tab, choose MBR instead of GPT. GPT is the newer format, but Windows 7 does not properly support it, so make sure it is set on MBR. Once you're done, click on Start. Make sure you don't have anything important on the drive, as everything will get deleted. Press OK and continue. Now this might take a while, up to 5 minutes, so grab a coffee and relax. I'll speed up the footage. After you are done, this text will appear on screen. Make sure to safely eject the stick and now...
Hello and welcome back. Today in this video we'll try to find out is it possible to install Windows 7 on a real modern PC. Let's go. Today I have a great opportunity from our sponsor. On Mother's Day you can get a free license key, Fire Top Apps. such as iTop Data Recovery, iTop VPN, etc. All you need to do is to share this page. First of all, copy this hashtag and then click share. After sharing this page,
Welcome back to
hello and welcome. As we know, Windows 7 is one of the greatest applications. You just need to select a USB stick without UEFI prefix, called Ultra ISO. It looks simple enough. Now let's try to boot. Press an F and 2K monitor with 144 Hz rate. I downloaded a clean MSDN Windows 7 image. To write it on a USB stick, I will use a program called Ultra ISO. It looks simple enough. Now let's try to boot. Press an F11 on MSI motherboard. As you can see, there are two options to boot Windows 7, UEFI and CSM mode. If I select UEFI mode, nothing happens, because this Windows 7 image so it looks simple enough. Happens, because this Windows 7 image doesn't have UEFI support. Maybe I just downloaded an old version of image. Anyway, it's very hard to find one of the latest official Windows 7 image. You even can't download it from the official Microsoft page. So let's try to use a CSM mode, which our motherboard is supported. To boot on this mode, you just need to select a USB stick without UEFI prefix. The installation is starting, but my keyboard and my mouse are not working. They connected via USB 3.1 port, but they don't work in other ports also. No problem, we are lucky because Z390 motherboard has a PS2 port, so we can connect an old keyboard to it. This IBM keyboard, for example, it should work. It's working well, let's go ahead, next, and the error message appears. My hard disks and SSDs are not showing up. It's very strange because it shows in Explorer, but not in the menu. And we load it in CSM mode, not UEFI. First thought was it happens because of MBR and GPT formats. To install Windows in UEFI mode, you need to convert the disk to GPT. But if you want to use CSM mode, the disk must be converted to MBR format. I have prepared the disks, but nothing changed. The reason why they are not showing up is the lack of SATA and NVMe drivers for the first is IBM key, but they don't work in other ports also. No problem, UEFI prefix. The installation is starting, but my keyboard and my mouse are not working. They connected via USB 3.1 port, but they don't work in other ports also. No problem, we are lucky because Z390 motherboard has a PS2 port, so we can connect an old keyboard to it. This IBM keyboard, for example, it should work. It's working well, let's go ahead, next, and the error message appears. My hard disks and SSDs are not showing up. It's very strange because it shows in Explorer, but not in the menu. And we load it in CSM mode, not UEFI. First thought was it happens because of MBR and GPT formats. To install Windows in UEFI mode, you need to convert the disk to GPT. But if you want to use CSM mode, the disk must be converted to MBR format. I have prepared the disks, but nothing changed. The reason why they are not showing up is the lack of SATA and NVMe drivers for this motherboard. The installation image just doesn't have it. That's why we can't see the disks. To solve the problem, we must do a couple of simple actions. Go to the official MSI drivers page and download SATA and NVMe drivers for Z390 motherboard. Then click Browse and select a folder with the drivers. But for some unknown reason, it's not working. There is another way to load the drivers during setup. It's called MSI Win7 Smart Tool. I've tried and it failed again. Firstly, this program is no longer updated. Secondly, it doesn't support all chipsets. Do you ever have problems with Windows activation? You can activate Windows easy way. Keysoft offers cheap and legal OEM software key, which is 100% official on customer service and lifetime after sales. It's an excellent opportunity to renew the operating system and improve performance and security. To buy a key, add it to the cart. Let it be Windows 11 key, for example. Add a coupon WIKIB50. It gives you 50% discount for Windows keys. Press Apply coupon. Click Proceed to checkout. You can register or check out as guest. Type your name, address, and choose the payment method. It has Visa, MasterCard. When the payment is done, you will receive the key on your email. Then go to activation settings, type your key and press Activate. That's all, now your system is activated. If you're interested, all links will be in the description. There is a great 100% way to install for some unknown reason. Okay, no problem. The list of disk drivers is appeared. Now we can select any NVMe SSD. Let it be my test SSD with 200. Setup begins. Next. We did it. Windows 7 is successfully installed on a modern PC. Let's open computer properties. Here is our processor and 32 GB of RAM. It recognizes correctly.
In this video, I will show you installation. All files, links are given in the description below. If your hand prompt, you need to know your Windows installation directory and directory of your pen drive installation directory. Please that's all. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe to my channel.
Alright, so here we are with the elephants. Cooking what these guys have been. Looks like they have really long trunks. And that's cool. And that's pretty much all there is to say.
Welcome viewer.
Stick, and now we start the
Press enter to enable the narrator. Narrator, 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 off.
Okay, so the problem is when it boots, you'll get this error page. So what we're going to do is plug in the USB drive with the Windows 7 installation, reboot the computer. As the computer is starting to boot, start tapping F11. That should bring up your boot menu. We're looking for the one down here that says UEFI colon and then the name of your thumb drive. In this case, it's a SanDisk. Click enter and the Windows installation will begin. Click next on the language defaults, and when you get to this screen, click on the repair your computer. This will start a search for different Windows installations. There should only be one. Should be Windows Embedded Standard. You don't need to click on it, but just click next. The recovery tool we're going to use is Command Prompt. When the command prompt comes up, type BCD edit, then hit enter. Now we're going to look down through this Windows bootloader and look for the device partition C. Should have the path as Windows System 32 winload.efi. So when we find that, we're going to look for the identifier. It should be default. So down here we're going to type BCD edit space -set space and then an open curly bracket default, which is this identifier, close curly bracket, and then no integrity checks, plural, all one word. So no integrity checks, space, and then the number 1, hit enter. It should say the operation completed successfully. At this point, you can remove your thumb drive, reboot the computer, and it should boot up and resume installing Windows updates.
Followed by the 0xC00428 error.
Welcome back to the adventure. Today we're adding USB 3 and eMMC drivers to our Windows 7 installation disk. Windows 7 was released back in 2009 and had mainstream support until January of 2020. In that over 10-year period, new technologies were introduced, and the included driver packages for Windows 7 stayed the same. Our goal is to slipstream drivers for USB 3 and eMMC, along with other common hardware like graphics, sound, networking, etc., into the installation disk. The disk image we are using comes from the previous video where we slipstreamed all available Windows updates. That disk image is currently available on the Internet Archive. I searched the internet for updated drivers, leaving no stone unturned, so to speak. I collected drivers from essentially any site that wasn't known to be malicious or looked like it could be. In the end, I found over 800 drivers. Using Enlight, I slipstreamed this massive number of drivers into the installation disk image, which took a very long time to complete. I then repeated the process for the 32-bit version of Windows 7. Those disk images are currently available on Patreon and will soon be on the Internet Archive. Thanks for stopping by. See you next video.
We need to select shrink volume. Now type the size for Windows setup partition. It should be big enough to fit Windows installation files on it. I will make mine just under 5 GB. Now click on newly created partition and select New Simple Volume. You can write a custom name if you want. We want to make the partition active, so when we restart the computer, the setup will load, not the old Windows on your hard drive. To do that, click on the partition and select Mark Partition as active. Now click Yes. Now extract the ISO file directly to the new partition. When procedure has finished, you can restart your computer. Drive C and select Shrink Volume. And select New Simple Volume. You can write a custom name if you We want to make the partition active, so when we restart the computer, the setup will load, not the old Windows on your hard drive. To do that, click on the partition and select Mark Partition as active. Now click Yes. Now extract the ISO file directly to the new partition. When procedure has finished, you can restart your computer. Before you continue, you have to make the Windows installation partition inactive again. Press Shift F10. Command prompt will open. Now type disk path. Next, type list disk. Now type select disk 0. If you have more than one hard drive, you will see more disks, so select the correct one. Next, type list partition. At the moment, the active partition is partition number 3, but we don't want it to be active anymore. To make the partition inactive, we have to set another partition active. So let's do that. Let's set the partition 1 as active, just like it was originally. Type select partition 1. Now type active. Now continue with setup as usual. You can delete all the partitions except Windows installation partition, as that's where Windows setup files are located. Continue setup as usual. Once Windows is installed, you can delete the setup partition if you want to and merge the extra space with drive C. Install Windows 7 or Windows 8.1 without using a pen drive or a DVD. Make sure you have Windows ISO image ready. Right-click on your computer and select Manage. Go to Disk Management. We want to create a new partition for Windows installation files. To do that, we need to borrow some space from partition C. Click on Drive C and select Shrink Volume. Now type the size for Windows setup partition. It should be big enough to fit Windows installation files on it. I will make mine just under 5 GB. Now click on newly created partition and select New Simple Volume. You can write a custom name if you want. We want to make the partition active, so when we restart the computer, the setup will load, not the old Windows on your hard drive. To do that, click on the partition and select Mark Partition as Active. Now click Yes. Now extract the ISO file directly to the new partition. When procedure has finished, you can restart your computer. Before you continue, you have to make the Windows installation partition unactive again. Press Shift F10. Command prompt will open. Now type disk path. Next, type list disk. Now type select disk 0. If you have more than one hard drive, you will see more disks, so select the correct one. Next, type list partition. At the moment, the active partition is partition number 3, but we don't want it to be active anymore. To make the partition inactive, we have to set another partition active, so let's do that.